This message finds you at a sacred turning point. The silence you felt at 3:33 a.m. was not emptiness, it was completion. Heaven was watching while you endured tests no one applauded, battles no one saw, and nights where faith was your only companion. Every delay refined you. Every tear taught you authority. The weight you carried was never meant to crush you. It was meant to crown you. What once felt like isolation was actually preparation. The season of proving is ending now. What begins next is not survival, but alignment. Not struggle, but assignment. The test is over, and heaven is responding. Chosen one, the test you endured was real, intentional, and deeply personal. It was not designed to destroy you, but to reveal what was already placed inside you before you were even aware of it. Every challenge came with precision. Every delay had purpose. You were not facing random opposition. You were facing targeted refinement. There were moments when you questioned why the pressure was so heavy, why the resistance was so constant, and why progress seemed hidden behind invisible walls. But those moments were never meant to break your spirit. They were meant to teach you how to stand without applause, how to move without reassurance, and how to trust without evidence. Heaven was watching how you handled what you could not control. There were seasons where nothing made sense. You did the right things, yet the outcome did not immediately change. You stayed faithful, yet the reward seemed delayed. This was not because you were failing. It was because endurance was being built into your character. Anyone can move forward when conditions are favorable, but only the chosen can remain steady when everything feels unfair. You were being trained to operate with discipline rather than emotion, with obedience rather than impulse. The test demanded maturity, not perfection. It demanded consistency when quitting would have been understandable. You were tested in silence because noise would have distracted you from growth. Had others seen the full weight of what you were carrying, they might have interfered, advised you to stop, or encouraged you to settle. But heaven needed you uninterrupted. Some battles had to be fought alone, so you could discover your own strength. Some tears had to fall in private, so your faith could deepen without performance. You were learning to draw power from within, not from validation outside. That lesson alone has elevated you beyond where you started. The resistance you encountered was not proof that you were on the wrong path. It was confirmation that you were moving in the right direction. Opposition always rises when purpose is near activation. The moments when things fell apart were actually moments when alignment was being rearranged. What left your life was not meant to follow you into the next season. What stayed was being refined to serve you at a higher level. Nothing was wasted. Even your mistakes became teachers. Even your delays became shields. There were times when you felt overlooked, underestimated, or forgotten. But those moments were strategic. They protected you from premature exposure. You were not ready to be seen until you were stable enough to stand. Heaven values foundation over speed. You were being strengthened where no one could applaud, so that when recognition comes, it will not move you. You learned humility without losing confidence. You learned patience without losing vision. These are marks of true authority. Victory does not always arrive with celebration. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like relief you cannot explain, or peace that settles without warning. You may notice now that the weight you carried feels lighter. The urgency to prove yourself is fading. The need for approval is loosening its grip. That is because the test has done its work. You are no longer reacting from wounds. You are responding from wisdom. You no longer chase what once distracted you. Your focus is clearer because your identity is stronger. You did not pass the test by being perfect. You passed by being persistent. You stayed when leaving would have been easier. You believed when doubt was louder than hope. You obeyed when clarity was incomplete. That is why victory is yours. Not because of talent, not because of luck, but because of endurance. Heaven honors those who remain standing when everything tries to knock them down. Now you step forward, not as someone seeking permission, but as someone carrying authority. The version of you that entered the test is not the same version that exits it. You are wiser, steadier, and more discerning. You know what to release, what to protect, and what to pursue. The battle shaped you, but it no longer defines you. The test is complete. The victory is secure. Walk forward knowing this season did not weaken you. It crowned you. Chosen one, the moment marked at 3:33 a.m. was not ordinary, and it was not random. It arrived when the world was quiet, when distractions were absent, and when your spirit was most exposed. That hour carried weight, because it was a threshold between what has been and what is now unfolding. You may have woken suddenly, felt a shift you could not explain, or sensed a stillness that felt different from exhaustion. That was alignment taking place. Heaven often moves when noise is low, because clarity requires silence. What you experienced was not imagination, it was recognition at a deeper level that something had ended. At 3:33 a.m., cycles that once repeated without reason were closing. Patterns that drained you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually were losing their authority over you. You are no longer meant to relive lessons you have already mastered. The confusion that followed you for so long is dissolving because discernment has been sharpened through endurance. You did not wake up with all the answers, but you woke up with peace. And peace is the clearest evidence that transition has begun. When anxiety loosens its grip without explanation, it is because the burden has been lifted at a level deeper than the mind. That hour represented release from constant inner warfare. The overthinking that kept you awake. The fear that replayed old memories. The self-questioning that undermined your confidence. All of it began to quiet. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because authority replaced uncertainty. You are no longer fighting to be understood. You are no longer chasing clarity from outside sources. Something within you settled. You can feel it now, in the way you respond instead of react, in the way you pause instead of panic. That is growth confirmed. 3:33 a.m. was also a reminder that timing matters. You could not have arrived at this understanding earlier. Had it come before the test was complete, it would not have lasted. Strength received too early often collapses under pressure. but strength formed through endurance becomes unshakable. You now carry awareness that cannot be stolen, because it was earned through experience. What once confused you now informs you. What once hurt you now guides you. The night was not meant to trap you. It was meant to teach you how to see in the dark. You may notice that old triggers no longer affect you the same way. Situations that once stirred fear now feel distant. Conversations that once drained you now feel unnecessary. This is not detachment from life. It is discernment. You are learning where to place your energy and where to withdraw it. At 3:33 a.m., the need to explain yourself faded because your identity no longer depends on approval. You are becoming selective, intentional, and grounded. That is evidence of alignment. That moment also marked the breaking of emotional cycles. You are no longer tied to past versions of yourself. Regret no longer defines you. Shame no longer follows you into the future. You are carrying lessons forward without carrying the pain. This is the difference between survival and healing. Survival keeps wounds open. Healing closes them while preserving wisdom. You have crossed that line. The night no longer owns you. You own the night now. As dawn approaches in this new season, you will move differently. Your steps will be quieter but more certain. Your voice will be calmer but more powerful. You will no longer feel rushed, because timing is no longer your enemy. What is meant for you will recognize you. What is not will fall away without struggle. You do not need to force doors open that are already aligned to open at the right moment. Remember this, 3:33 a.m. was not about fear, loss, or loneliness. It was about transition. It was the confirmation that the inner work has been completed. You are no longer waiting for permission to move forward. You are moving because alignment has arrived. The silence you felt was not emptiness, it was completion. The night released you, and now the morning responds. Chosen one, understand this with clarity and calm confidence. Heaven is not preparing you to apologize for who you are becoming. It is preparing you to carry what you have been trusted with. The crown being formed is not a symbol of ego, status, or superiority. It is a sign of responsibility, stewardship, and authority earned through obedience and endurance. You are stepping into a season where your presence will carry weight, not because you demand attention, but because you have been refined enough to hold influence without being corrupted by it. This elevation is not loud, but it is undeniable. You have been shaped in ways that cannot be reversed. The humility you learned through waiting has balanced the strength you gained through resistance. You now know how to stand without hardening your heart, and how to lead without losing compassion. That balance is rare. Many seek power without preparation, but you were prepared before being revealed. Heaven values character more than appearance, and that is why your journey took time. You were being trained to lead with wisdom rather than impulse, with understanding rather than control. This season requires you to trust that what has been built within you is sufficient. As your influence expands, you may notice that some people misunderstand your growth. They may remember an earlier version of you and expect you to remain there. Do not argue with their memory. You are not responsible for maintaining access to who you used to be. Growth does not require permission. Elevation does not require explanation. The crown being placed on you is not for display, it is for function. It equips you to navigate environments that once intimidated you and to stand firm where others retreat. You are not rising to impress. You are rising to serve with clarity and strength. There will be moments when you are called into spaces where your voice shifts the atmosphere simply by speaking truth with calm assurance. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. You have learned when to speak and when silence carries more authority. You have learned how to listen deeply, respond intentionally, and withdraw when necessary. These are the qualities of someone entrusted with influence. You will not need to force respect. It will come naturally because you respect yourself and the journey that shaped you. Do not confuse this new season with isolation. While the path ahead may still feel narrow at times, it is no longer lonely. You are now walking with discernment rather than fear. You can recognize who belongs in your future and who was only meant for your preparation. Releasing others does not make you unkind, it makes you wise. The crown does not fit everyone, and not everyone can walk beside you at this level. That understanding will protect your peace. Heaven prepares a crown not to burden you, but to position you. You are being aligned with opportunities that match your maturity. Doors will open that once felt unreachable, and you will walk through them without needing to shrink or overperform. You are no longer striving to prove worth. You are moving from a place of knowing it. Confidence now flows from alignment, not ego. You know who you are because you survived becoming it. You may feel moments of hesitation as this responsibility settles. That is natural. Growth always stretches before it stabilizes. Do not mistake hesitation for unworthiness. It is simply awareness. You understand the weight of what you are carrying, and that awareness will keep you grounded. You will move carefully, intentionally, and with respect for the influence you hold. That is why you can be trusted with it. Remember this as you move forward. Heaven does not reward endurance with regret. It rewards it with authority. You are not being elevated to revisit old wounds or repeat past battles. You are being positioned to operate from healing, clarity, and purpose. The crown is not coming to change who you are. It is coming because of who you have become. Walk forward without apology. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are ready.